And this evening, my very special guest is Rosemarie D'Alessandro, and Rosemarie is the mom of beautiful Joan D'Alessandro and the Joan's Joy Foundation. Joan was 7 years old, a beautiful little girl, brownie, a proud brownie, when she was delivering boxes of Girl Scout cookies to a neighbor who lived across the street, only 3 houses down from Joan's house. The neighbor, a Tappan Zee High School chemistry teacher. I don't even want to mention his name. He sexually molested and murdered Joan on April 19th, 1973, Holy Thursday. Joan's body was found 3 days later on Easter Sunday in a sepulcher-like space in a large, between kind of in a large rock formation at Harriman State Park in New York. And Rosemarie, since I'd say probably about 5 years after Joan's death, she has been advocating for children her whole entire life, for over 40 years, for child safety and to stop these horrible fiends, criminals, murderers from coming up for parole, because they do come up for parole. I don't know how, but they certainly do. Rosemarie has worked diligently to stop this, and she has passed probably over five legislations, and she's just absolutely wonderful. We're going to talk about this evening. We're going to talk about I'd like to talk about some child safety tips. Also, we're going to also talk about her work and effort to keep. Danny Myers was a young boy who was also murdered. Rosemarie will fill us in about that. And we're going to talk about that, what she's done to help the family of Danny Myers. And his killer is still in prison. And we're going to talk about Joan's disgusting, these people that get 3 square meals a day. They live off the fat of the land. They become attorneys. They become ministers. It's just disgusting. I'm sorry. But you know what? I say an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Pay back your debt to society. How could you do this to a child? And Rosemarie's going to talk to us about that this evening. And welcome the wonderful Rosemarie D'Alessandro. How are you tonight, dear?
Hi everyone. Hi. So good to be here tonight. And yeah, Lori, there are a few things to go over, and one of them has to do with the Danny Meyer case. But I think I will start taking it like in what happened first, second, third, fourth. There are 4 points. The last one I will go into is the Child Safety Fest.
Good.
And that's on September 25th.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start with, like, Lori gave you an idea about Joan, about what happened. And what did happen was, because of the 2 days of Holy Thursday and Easter, with my faith and what I believe in, I really saw that those days were signs of hope.
Oh, yes.
Big days. So, right? So anyway,
yes.
Found out 20 years later what the sign of hope really was going to be. So in 1993, that's when we started the movement to keep Joan's killer in prison. If we did not fight at that time, I was told he was going to come out.
Oh.
Because in his case, he got 14 years. 14 years meant life in 1973. That meant after 14 years, he was always eligible for parole. In 93, that was 20 years. Mm-hmm. So he was in prison 7 more years, right? 7 years already that he had beyond the 14 years. So it was very difficult. We had to get thousands and thousands and thousands of signatures.
Oh, I can't believe that. That is.
I mean, it started here in Hillsdale, New Jersey.
Right.
It went throughout the states. We got 100,000 signatures.
Wow. Good.
People so afraid that he would come out.
He's definitely a threat to society, to children.
Yeah.
How could? Well, go ahead, Rosemarie. I don't want to interrupt you.
Tell me.
No. I'm just saying that is just totally absurd. The victim always stays the victim. You were the victims. You stayed the victims. You had to work just to keep this. I don't even have a name for him.
I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
When I get into the Danny Meyer case.
Yes.
I will show you how victims are the least important. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And a case in New Jersey, we had to, we fought. We found out. It took time to find out if he would be eligible for parole. He was not eligible for parole. And so he got, at that time, he got 20 years. But 20 years would mean 12 because 4 years would be discounted because for living there.
Oh.
And then just being, doing all the ABCs, trying to be a good boy.
How could that's redundant? That's so redundant.
Yep. Isn't that something?
How could they be good? They're in there for being disgusting fiends of the underworld, and as far as I'm concerned, and then they get off on good behavior. It's
good behavior.
That's
good behavior and work credits to everybody.
Oh, work credits.
This is the way it is in New Jersey, and all of you that are working, do you get work credits?
No, we do not.
I don't think so.
We don't
I don't think so.
We get nothing. Rosemarie, listen, I don't want to interrupt. What I'd like you to do, please, my dear, is you are just an astounding angel in our universe. And before we go any further with Danny Myers, I would like you to to speak to our listeners, to let us know who Danny Myers was, what happened to him, his parents, and the case of Danny Myers. I mean, we've talked about Joan's legacy and Joan for and the horrors.
I just want to say one thing.
Sure.
Everyone, on June 5th, I found out 2 days after that, Joan's killer died.
Thank goodness.
In prison.
Yes.
So therefore, there are no paroles with him anymore, and he will not harm anybody.
Well.
So that is relief for all of us.
He's shoveling. Yes,
thank God.
He's shoveling coal with Satan, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, now it's up to God.
Yes,
God is the judge.
Always.
We don't have to judge.
No, you're absolutely right, Rosemarie.
We don't have to worry about that because that's fine. Now
that's a higher source. We're going to go. We're going to go to a break, honey. Please hold on to your thought. I do not want to interrupt you because you are always such a wonderful, wonderful guest with this information that helps everyone, helps the universe.
Okay.
Rosemarie, please stay with us. We're going to go to our break, and we will be back after our important messages, and you will fill us in about all of these issues that we'd like to address. Thank you, dear. Hold on, please. Rosemarie, please tell us, dear. You've gone through, so much to get these legislations passed. Tell us, first of all, I'd like everybody to know what Joan's Law is, and then I'd like you to tell us about Danny Myers' killer in prison.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, Joan's Law was the first one was passed in New Jersey, and that was in 1997, and it was signed by Governor Whitman. Mm-hmm. And it says that anyone that sexually molests or murders a child under 14 years old ultimately dies in prison because there will be no appeals. There will be no parole. No opportunity for parole. The life will mean life. Because right now, at that time, life did not mean life. So now, if this happens, life means life.
Yes, it does.
You die in prison.
Good.
So then what we did in 2017 got the goal that was always in my mind to get all minors. So now all minors under 18 are involved with Joan's Law. So if there's a teenager that is sexually molested and murdered, the killer will die in prison.
Good. That's terrific.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. And you've gone on to do so many other legislations, Rosemarie. We do have somebody on the line, Ed from Northfield. He's going to give us a child safety tip, and then we're going to talk to you about Danny Myers. Good evening, Ed. How are you tonight?
How you doing?
Oh, good, Ed. How are you?
I had to throw in the oldest one, and it's still standard today. Never talk to strangers.
Rosemarie, what?
My son that when he was a boy, and my granddaughter now. Never talk to strangers. And that's one of the main things that you got to teach kids. When a car pulls up and you got to teach kids that now, because within a split second, a wink of an eye, they can snatch that kid and you'll never see or hear from them again.
That's Rosemarie. I want to introduce you to Ed, Rosemarie D'Alessandro, Joan's mom. Ed, Rosemarie, is this a good advice?
Okay, that is good advice, but there's a part to it that could be confusing. Because many times...
Let me tell you, it worked for me.
Wait.
It worked for my son.
Okay.
And it worked for my granddaughter now. So I don't think it's confusing when a car pulls up.
Wait.
And it's somebody you don't know. I watch TV now. It's a lot different now.
Right,
They do it in broad daylight. Kids can't even have lemonade stands or that anymore because
Wait, Ed. Rosemary agrees.
I'm going to tell you
Go ahead. Go, Rosemary.
I'm not saying what you're saying is not right. I'm saying it's really good. But then there's a part of it that can be confusing because, say in Joan's case, she knew the person. And
that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
And many times it's not a stranger. It's a person that you know, like a family member.
Wow.
So therefore, your information...
Hello? Did we lose Rosemary?
More.
Okay.
You want to add a little more.
Yeah.
That about the people.
That's right.
If it could be someone they know too, but how do you explain this to a child? It's complicated, right?
Absolutely.
So therefore, that's where the parent comes in, that they have to be aware of family members too.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Especially if they have a funny feeling. Okay. Yeah.
That's good advice, Rosemary. Yes. Ed, did you? Yeah. So you're right.
And you know what? The other thing is, it is 100% on the parents. And the parents most parents are like me and you and most everybody. You love your kids. You gotta teach your kid. Hey, listen. I guess I was blessed because my son was smart when he was a little boy. I'm talking around 5 years old, and my granddaughter's 10 right now. And guess what? Smart.
Good.
She knows. She can tell. You can sense it. You got to teach every little detail.
Right.
But sometimes you're right. You're 100% right. It could be It could be your school teacher in school.
Well,
it could be the priest at your church.
Right.
I get all that.
Definitely.
We understand all that.
Yes,
but the main thing is you got to sink it into your kid's head.
Right.
Always be alert.
Right.
And never talk to strangers. I don't care what anybody says. Never talk to strangers because that's when it starts.
Great. Good advice, Ed. You're so right. Ed,
even if they pull over and say, I need directions, a lot of times that's a trick. They want to pull over and say, could you tell me how to get to here and this and that. There's a lot of little tricks these freaks use anymore.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I'm sorry, I got to throw this in and then I'm hanging up. They really need to put these people away and never let them out again. I don't buy all that. They're mental, and we're going to work on them. And no, you can't help. That's like a broken leg on a horse. It can't be fixed. People that play on kids, it can't be fixed.
That's right.
Do it over and again, repeatedly. It's time to put them away, break the key off, and leave them in there for life. I'll see you. God bless. Be safe.
Ed, don't hang up. Leave your address so we can send you the pizza.
Okay, pizza.
Yeah, you got to get your pizza. Come on, Ed, hang in there. Just talk. Ed hung up. Oh, Ed, give us a call back. You got to give us your address. I know you've won before, but what you call? I don't keep your address, which I don't like to do. So call back. Ed, okay, you won the pizza. Great advice. He's right.
Okay.
We should.
Good night, Ed.
We should. You're so right. That's a great addendum. It can be a family member. It can be a neighbor. In your case, it was a neighbor. Who would think? A teacher. But let's move on, Rosemary.
Now I want to talk about Danny.
Yes, go right ahead.
I didn't know. See, Danny died in Montgomery, New York, New York State. And we're in Hillsdale, New Jersey. So that is, Hillsdale, New Jersey is very north New Jersey, Bergen County.
Right.
So anyway, I did not know about this, that the person was coming up for parole.
Mm-hmm.
And this maybe Montgomery might be about an hour away from here, okay? So Orange County. And near Monroe, maybe people know where Monroe is.
Yes.
Okay, so that's kind of where it is. And so this wonderful person that really is very, very, really knows the family, is very, very supportive of the mother, beautiful, beautiful friend, calls me and wants to know if I could help with anything. And then she tells me about her experience with Joan. And she said Joan was always like part of her life. I know nothing about Rhonda. Her name is Rhonda.
Mm-hmm.
And this was
Poor Rhonda.
happening, right?
Right.
So here it is. Rhonda calls me to see if we could do anything. I could do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So then I remember in this case now, everyone, this is about a 12-year-old boy, beautiful, beautiful blonde, just so bright. So you could tell, he had energy. And he was going to play, he was at a sleepover.
Mm-hmm.
So the next morning, he was going to go for practice for baseball. And he goes for his practice, and he passes an area that's almost like a field that has some woods, but this is like the kids take this path to go to the ball field.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a shortcut, but it's not like woods that it's all
thick.
You see just trees, and
right.
There's no space. So he sees someone. Well, this is what happened. There was this person that he knew, at least for the past year.
See?
A young man, about 22 years old, is on a bicycle and does something very, very horrible to this young boy that's all happy, going to play just with his friends for a sleepover, and stabs him to death.
Oh, my.
And meanwhile, they did find something on his briefs, but, that, I'm just telling you, I don't know, I think that was not, I don't think that was one of the crimes that they just did the murder, but the other one was a crime, even though it's like a spot in his briefs. Because you know what that means.
Yes, of course.
There was some attempt.
Yeah,
so,
he was sodomized, obviously. Yes.
So anyway, what happened is the killer got 25 years.
What?
Because this happened in '96. And I remember at that time, there was no Jones Law in New York.
Right.
Because we did get a Jones Law in New York State, but that was in 2004.
Ah.
So the law is not retroactive, so it couldn't help him. So anyway, what happened was he is eligible, and it was very scary because he spent his time of 25 years in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in New York State, I tell you the truth, what their policy is not human. It's inhumane. After the 25 years now, he will be eligible every 2 years.
Oh, my.
So this is the first time he's becoming he's eligible. His mother had to go and testify, and this was about a week and a half ago.
Danny Meyer's mom.
Yes,
okay.
Her name is Jill.
Okay.
And she will be getting the notification if the killer is paroled or not. Like say, maybe at the latest August 18th, 1920th, around there. But meanwhile, now this is the first time he's become eligible for parole. And he will be eligible every 2 years. Hopefully, he has to stay in now. He just has to stay in.
Absolutely. He'll only be, if it was, he was 22 at the time. And how many years ago was that?
Well, and he's 47 now.
So he's 47.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that? That's still, he could still come out and do it again, and they do.
Yeah.
They do.
So then what happens is they did have, they had like a lot of signatures, and she talked to me about like, what did you do? So I mentioned about, and they were thinking of a lot of things too, but just to confirm, maybe they would, just something they weren't remembering. So I said you could have a green ribbon campaign, you could have a petition campaign, you could have a vigil. This is all that helped us. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they were doing their petition campaign. They did have a candlelight vigil, and that night it was very humid. I couldn't go in person, so I wrote a speech, and then Rhonda read it.
Oh, good.
And then after Rhonda read it, she goes, it was hard for her to read,
Oh,
to do,
Yeah.
without crying.
Absolutely.
So I have that speech too.
Oh, my.
She has it.
Wow.
And then I did get interviewed, and I told them that media. Use media. Media, it could be your friend.
Yes.
Media gets the word out.
It does.
Not only to Hillsdale, not only to Montgomery, not only, look at what it's doing right now with the radio, what you're doing, right? So, I mean, all this beautiful way of communication.
Right.
So that was done.
It informs people, and
so I just, my heart goes out to that mother and that family, that they have to have this line on their mind every 2 years.
And
that means, do you know what that means, everybody? 2 years means, because I know from my experience that all they're getting maybe is a freedom for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Because then they start to find out, now pretty soon, or they're thinking this, pretty soon, like next year, there's the next parole again.
Mm-hmm.
So just that thinking about it coming
Yes.
is part of the suffering.
Absolutely. And I'm surprised.
Yeah,
I mean,
horrible.
there should be, as Ed was saying, there should be absolutely no parole for murderers of a child. I mean, you've murdered the child. Not only have you taken the life and the breath away from this poor innocent child, but the family. How many people really have you murdered? It's not just, it's bad enough that it's the child. This is awful. But you have done this Jones Joy Child Safety Fest, Rosemary, is coming up.
I want to tell you.
Tell everybody about this. Yes,
See,
please.
We have a foundation started in '98, and what we do is support victims' rights. Okay?
Good.
Is change things, not keep things the same. Now we're going for the sixth law. But
Yes.
a big part of it is we have fundraising to help children that are in poverty, that are underprivileged, that are in group homes, that don't know, the care. They do get care there, but they don't have an opportunity to go to Great Adventures. So that's what we do.
Aww.
We give them opportunities for things that they would never get, like even pet therapy, horse therapy, things about just playing, going out to eat. Now with COVID, they need new furniture. So when we have our Safety Fest on September 25th, the monies will go for furniture that is just got dilapidated because these kids had to stay in the group home and never leave for over a year.
Oh, my.
And they're,
That's
So anyway, that's part of the money. Part of the money is going to go there, and with it, it's September 25th, and it's on a Saturday. The rain date is the next day on the 26th. It'll be from 2 to 5. We will have entertainment, and Lorry will be one of our professional entertainers for an entertainment.
Oh no! Oh boy,
So
I'm not going
to be so awesome.
I'm not going to add anything, Rosemary.
He likes the Carpenters.
Oh yes. Well, what we're going to do, bless the beast and the children, and this is going to be at the Hillsdale train station. Wow!
Yes.
I'm sure everybody comes out for you, Rosemary, to support your mission.
Yes.
And are you working
I
on?
want to ask if you want to help. just go to jonesjoy.org,
Okay.
JOANS joy.org.
Okay.
And you could donate, or if you have something in your closet that's brand new that you don't think you're going to use,
Aw.
send it over to me, and I'll put it in a basket. Like with a lot of things,
JonesJoy.org. Joan lives on through your hard work, Rosemarie, for all of these years. And are you working on, we only have about 2 minutes, but are you working on a new legislation, number 6? Would it be?
That's Paula's law, that's going to be in New York State, and that's the expansion for all, it's going to be all minors, all children under 18. So if something happened, like to a child that's like 15, that child would be involved. And there are so many teenagers with human trafficking now, as bad as it is.
Awful.
And, just sexual assault, murder.
Absolutely. And
that's what we do. And, it's a good thing.
It's a wonderful thing.
We all unify, Everybody does their part.
Right.
And everybody makes it work,
And Rosemarie, there's so many parents out there and mothers that have gone through this and they don't know where to turn. But having you at the helm is just wonderful. And the more legislation you pass, the better it's going to be for our nation and for the safety of our children. So.
And thank you, Lori. Thank you for
giving
me this opportunity.
Oh.
And some friends were, I told about 50 people tonight. I did it. John did it on the internet.
Oh, John is a doll.
He was super.
And it's just hello to the boys. Hello, John and Michael.
Well, John is takes care of all that.
Yes.
He's listening now.
And
John, you're there, right?
Yes.
John?
Love to you, John, and take care of Mom. And it's Jones Joy Child Safety Fest, September 25th, 2020.
I take care of him too.
I know you do. You take care of everybody, Rosemarie. You take care of everyone. And go to jonesjoy.org. Thank you, my dear. We love you. And okay, honey, and we'll talk again very soon, especially before the event. You'll come on again, and we'll talk about how important this is that people support. JonesJoy.org. Thanks, honey. God bless. Thank you, dear. Thank you for all you've done. And thanks to all of you out there for listening, my wonderful listeners. God bless you. We love you. Wear your masks. Be safe. Have a great weekend. And I will be back on Sunday. Thanks, Tasha. Have a great weekend, everyone.